Welcome to another edition of the Power is Within podcast tonight. Glad you could join us, and it's a beautiful day today. We're glad that we have a little sunshine instead of this cold weather. But you know, it's getting colder because it's November. I don't like the wintertime. The longer I live, the more I realize why people move to Florida for the 3 months during the wintertime. Tonight's topic is going to be Imagination Rules the World. We're going to take some excerpts out of my book, The Power is Within, and we're going to discuss that and hopefully have something of value for you to use in your daily life. People don't realize how much imagination has to do with what goes on in their world and how much thoughts create their world. Let me see. The Unseen Powers, the first chapter of my book. You can get it on Amazon, Amazon Books. The Power is Within. I think it's about 6 months old. And we'll read a little bit of it and we'll discuss it. As soon as I clicked publish on Coming Back Home, which was my first book, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, I knew I would write another book. People who had read it would ask, and I would tell them yes, though I had a completely different one in mind. I would tell them about the romance novel I intended to write. I knew they were very popular, and with all the vast experience I've had with women throughout the years, both bad and good, I felt sure it would be a bestseller, but every time I sat down to write, the words just wouldn't come. This surprised me. I moved it too fast. After the relative ease with which I wrote my first book. After a few false starts, I realized why. I was trying to write a book for the purpose of selling copies rather than providing value. I asked my higher self, God, the divinity, or whatever name you give the being that orders the energies of the universe, what should I write? The answer was immediate. Write something of value that you know something about. That made sense. It's easy to write about something you know, and when things come easy, they tend to also be at their most valuable. Clearly then, one subject stood above the rest. If you've read Coming Back Home, you'll know I've been studying metaphysical spiritual principles for the last 30 years and have experienced both the benefits and the consequences when used for selfish reasons. Those benefits can rank among the most fulfilling moments of your life, and the consequences are often the most painful, but they're also always educational. That's the only way to grow in any realm, and the spiritual is no different. All the most renowned mystics throughout history had to endure some of the most difficult setbacks on their journeys to enlightenment. Am I claiming to be enlightened? Then you might be asking. I would suggest you ask the same about yourself. You're the only one that can answer that for you, just as I am the only one who can answer it for me. To answer directly, yes, I'm enlightened, though probably not in the way you think I mean. We tend to incorrectly look at enlightenment as if it were some great high thing to achieve. In reality, everyone at the same time already is enlightened, and being enlightened, they have achieved enlightenment and are also achieving it. Enlightenment is something that you either have or don't have. It's not something that you either have or don't have. It's something that you have and don't have, always gaining it, but never fully reaching its highest state. In that sense, there has never been anyone that wasn't enlightened, nor anyone that fully was. As long as we are here on this planet Earth and living, we are enlightened. This leads to another, perhaps more controversial fact. We are all perfect. Okay, so what do I mean by we're all perfect? What I mean by that is, I hear a lot of people talking about this is a fallen world, everything's terrible. But let's say that everything was perfect in the world, and we were perfect, and we were all here, and everything just went perfectly. There would be no need for tolerance, patience, pity, kindness, self-sacrifice, giving, or any of that. We would have no opportunity to learn and to grow. It's the resistance of life that helps us to grow. Without resistance, we don't have any desire or reason to look for answers within ourselves. And we would never realize that we have the creative power that God has given us, or higher self, whatever you choose to believe. I'm not a religious person, but I believe that there's a part of us that's connected to universal intelligence that gives us the power to create with our thoughts. If you look at any of the famous athletes, they all use visualization many times before you ever see them complete the award-winning feat, whatever it was they're doing. They've done it thousands of times over and over again in their mind. And the same power can be used to create whatever you want in your life. The problem is everybody uses this power every day. They just use it by default. They think, whoever they are, the statistic people, say that we think the same thoughts over and over again, about 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Well, guess what? If nothing changes, nothing changes. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if we think the same thing over and over again, then we're going to have the same results over and over again. Unless we change our thinking, our life doesn't change. Wayne Dyer wrote a book, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I think that's what the title is. So basically, how do you do that? You have to put something else into your life, into your thoughts, into your mind. Instead of watching TV every day and being influenced by the thousands of messages of other people's agenda, you have to consciously sit down and start reading books that will move you into thought of the direction of what you desire in life, or watch things on YouTube or TV or whatever that is congruent with what you would desire to have in your life. If a person could just look objectively at what he's thinking and take blame out of the vocabulary, because many people want to blame everybody else for everything happening, but they've drawn that into their life by their dominant thinking. Now, I'm not thinking about if you're driving down the road and you think, oh, I might have an accident, that you're going to have an accident. No, it's not going to happen like that. It's like planting a seed. Every seed you plant doesn't grow, but if you plant enough seeds, you're going to get a harvest of crop. It's the same way with thoughts. If you dominantly think about what you fear, you will bring that into your life. If you dominantly think every day over and over about what you desire, you will bring that into your life. The power works either way. It has no intention. The power does it. You put the intention to it, and somehow in a way that we don't understand, it brings these things to come to pass. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, one of the things I was going to say is you said something about reading books. I think personally, from my experience, one of the things that helps your imagination grow is reading constantly, because you have to imagine as you're reading books. So that's all I would say for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's actually better, I think, to read. It's better exercise for your mind than it is to listen. Although I listen to books and I read them too. There's a certain book that you guys know about, Neville Goddard, At Your Command. I've listened to that book hundreds of times, and I've also read it many times too. And the reason I do that is because what you have within your mind now has been programmed into you either by yourself or by someone else. Usually, most people, the majority, allow themselves to be programmed by everybody else and everything else. Of course, when you're a child, you don't have a choice. You're just vulnerable, and whatever people say, you tend to believe. And a lot of times when we grow up and get older, we have to reprogram ourselves. If our life isn't working and we continue to get ourselves into situations that we don't like, we have to start changing the way we think, because every action stems from a thought.
Another thing to add on to that, too, is like you were talking about how it's not going to happen right away. You're not just going to be thinking about having a car accident and you're going to be in an accident. A good example of that is you're thinking about in your head all the arguments you're going to have with your boss. Now, it's not going to happen that day that you go to work, but over time you keep thinking it over and over again what you're going to say, and you're picturing yourself in an argument with your boss, and then you get into the argument, but it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. It usually ends up changing or something, you know.
Exactly.
About how you were talking about your imagination and all that. A lot of people who are really successful, they usually have a huge imagination. But not only do they have a good imagination, they take action.
Exactly.
You can have a really good imagination, but it's all about taking action, making that step forward to get somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can be a dreamer, but you have to be a doer also. But what I see in the world today, at least in our nation, is a lot of people believe that they have to take continuous action. And I believe in massive continuous action, but I believe in it from an inspiration, from intuitive thought. Because I've taken a lot of action in my life, and when I'm trying to run the show, I'm pushing for something to happen. Yes, you may get that done, but in the end, you may wish that you hadn't have gotten it done.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, too. It's just like you can imagine something like, I don't know, getting $1 million and everything like that, and you can do stuff, but sometimes things don't go exactly the way you imagine. You know, that's what the people think. If they imagine it over and over again, it's going to go exactly that way. But it's supposed to go the way that for you to be successful or build character, whatever it happens to be.
Right, and that's a good point, too, because the how is really none of our business. What our business is to set the intention, get a vision of what you desire, and make affirmations. Affirmations work also. about what you want, and you see that vision with feeling as if it's already happened. It's like Jesus said, according to your faith be it unto you. If you believe that you have it, then you will receive it. You believe that you already have it. You can't think about when you're going to get it. You have to think about that you already have it. You have to feel like you already have it. I was reading something the other day about inverse propulsion or inverse. I can't remember exactly how they said it, but what they said was, for example, if you can make electricity with heat by heating something, no, you can make heat with electricity. Well, I can't remember. I can't do it verbatim, but basically what they're saying is, if you, let's say someone walked in here now and gave you $1 million, you would get a certain feeling from that. And you would feel like or think that $1 million caused you to feel elated or happy. Okay? Now, if you reverse that and you have the feeling first that you have that $1 million, then that will make that $1 million come to you.
Yeah.
But like you said, we limit ourselves because we think, well, that'll never happen to me, or how would it come? I'd have to win the lottery. Mm-hmm. There's a million ways it could happen for you, just as $1 million. But when you say it can only happen this way, or I'd have to work for it or whatever, then you limit the possibilities that it could come to you. You have to keep an open mind and not think about how it's going to come, although you do need to take action in the direction. For example, you've been visualizing $1 million. You get an idea to go look at some property that you were thinking about buying. But instead of going and looking at it, it just popped into your head. You think, well, I know that guy's not going to want to sell that property. You start rationalizing. That's the rational mind. It knows nothing except facts and what it can see in front of it. Mm-hmm. The intuitive mind is connected to the universal mind. And with that, if you follow that, it can see the big picture. There's no past, there is no present. I mean, there's only present. There's only past and future. There's only now. But it can see in the future. It can see in the past. It sees everything. It sees things that we don't know. It's the same mind that can see. Sometimes you'll get a feeling, you know what, I shouldn't go there. Maybe something's wrong with Billy, and you call up and he's had an accident. Or someone gets a feeling that one of their kids have gotten hurt, or their wife has had a car accident, or they get a feeling not to go somewhere. That's the intuitive mind. And when you don't listen to that, many times you get yourself in trouble. I've had it here. Sometimes I'll be going to work and something will pop in my head about getting a certain tool. Instead of just picking it up and leaving, I think of all the things I'm going to do that day, and I know I won't need it, so I don't take it. And sure enough, the strangest things happen, and for some odd reason I could have never foreseen, I needed that tool.
And one of the things that people do as well is they call it coincidence, And really it's not coincidence, it's your intuitive mind. It knows what needs to happen in the future or the past or whatever it happens to be.
Exactly.
So,
shoot. I couldn't really.
Claude's at a loss for words tonight.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, let's talk about this in written goals. They say that less than 1% of the population have written goals. Claude, do you have written goals?
No, I don't.
I do not either.
Oh my God, you guys write your goals down. Okay, I have written goals. I review them every day, twice a day, sometimes more than that. I also have them on a, I want to say cassette tape because that shows my age, a voice recording.
Yeah, actually, I do have goals. I don't have them written down, but I do have them typed down on my notes on my computer.
Well,
but
that's written down.
Yeah. But one of the things that I need to do more that I don't do is what you said. You look at them every day.
And think about them as if you already have them.
Yeah.
We have a system within us. It's called the reticular activating system. And let me tell you how that works. It's like, okay, let's say your mom, or let's say I buy a car, okay? And it's a Grand Pala, like the one I have. My mom gave me that one when she passed away. Glad to have it. But, okay, and then once you get that car, all of a sudden you start seeing those cars everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's in your mind. You have it there. You have one. Now you're aware of the car. Okay? Were all those cars there before? Yes, but you didn't notice them. So your mind is made, everything that goes on in the outer world is picked up by your subconscious mind. But it filters everything out so your conscious mind doesn't recognize it, because I think it's like your subconscious mind takes in, it's like billions of bits of information every second or something like that. But if you were picking it up with your conscious mind, it would overwhelm you. You wouldn't be able to function. So it filters out everything that's not important. So just like the car, like you buy a red car, all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. They were there before, but you couldn't see them. It's the same as when you write your goals. When you write a goal down and you visualize it day in, day out, what happens is you start seeing opportunities to achieve that goal. They were always there before, but you never saw them because you didn't activate the reticular activating system. It's a part of you that hones in on things, just like a radar. What is it? Not radar. A heat-seeking missile. It chases that heat. It's the same thing. When you write down the goals and you start thinking about them and visualizing them every day, you activate that radar system that's going to hone in and find the things that you need to achieve that goal. You don't have to consciously figure it out. It's good to make a plan, but you got to let the things get. You have to have a flexible plan because there's a way that it's going to come to you that you could never even imagine. Some people say God's got ways that you could just never imagine. Or what is it out of the Bible? They talk about that God's ways are not man's ways. It's the same deal here. You can't figure out how it's going to happen. Now, there are people that go out there and just work their butt off and make it happen, but I believe this is an easier way. Many times in my life, I've needed or wanted something, and it just comes to me. It just appears. It's happened to me time and time again without any effort on my part. Now, I may have to get up and go drive and pick it up or pay for it or buy it, but it wasn't there before until I started thinking about having it as if I had it, how nice it would be to have it, what it would be like to have it. Act as if you already have it. Think from the vision. Don't think of the vision. You see yourself there. When I used to box, I did the very same thing. I would see myself getting up into the ring, everything that happened, the first bell, the round, fighting, everything. And then when I would go fight, it wouldn't happen exactly like I thought it did, but I won the fight because I would feel myself after the fight feeling elated. And something else you can do too is you can take an event that's happened in your life where you've won something or felt great or received a lot of money or something you really wanted or met a girl you really liked, and you can visualize yourself maybe in the perfect relationship, and you take the feeling you had from that relationship where when you was with that girl you really liked and you put it into this new vision. And that's called overlapping. It's a technique people use to enhance their visions to make them come to pass faster, because emotion is the catalyst that really sets things in motion to bring your desires, your goals, and your dreams to you faster.
And go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
All right. What I was going to say was that a good way for your imagination to expand is hang around people who are really successful, because if they're really successful, then that means that they have a big open imagination, and those are the people you should surround yourself around. Because if your imagination isn't as big as theirs is, if you hang around them long enough, you're gonna learn ways.
You pick up on what you're around.
You pick up on how their imagination's so
yeah,
big.
it's true. You become part of what you're around, for better or for worse. I mean, I don't know if you've all experienced this. You'll be listening to the radio and there's a song in there and you hate the song. Every time it comes on, you hate it. Then maybe 4 months or 2 months or whatever, you find yourself singing that song. How is that? See, you picked it up because you've been around it. And the people you hang around, it's like, I don't have to know what kind of person you are if I can see what kind of friends you have, because I can tell you by your friends. That's just the principle of the universe. You become part of what you are around, or you are like the people you hang around with. There's an old saying that if you hang around with 4 millionaires, you'll be the fifth. And if you hang around with 4 losers, you'll be the fifth. It's the same way. It works the same way whether you desire it or not.
Another thing I was going to add on to is like the more emotion you add on to what you're imagining, the more likely it is to happen.
Exactly.
Like I was talking about earlier, when people get in an argument with their boss, before that happens, they imagine themselves how angry they'd be or what they're going to say, and they add a lot of emotion to it, so that's when it usually ends up happening. Right. And sometimes it's not even just an argument with your boss. Maybe it's an argument with your wife or a friend, but you're thinking about arguing with somebody and you're putting so much emotion into it because of the anger you have.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, the inner conversations, like you talk about that, Henry, the inner conversations, many people go around all day arguing with somebody. I've done it myself. Those inner conversations will draw those things to you also. They may not draw the exact argument to you with the exact person, but you'll find yourself having conflict with other people throughout the day.
Yeah.
Nobody, or most people, don't listen to their inner conversations. Those inner conversations come from thoughts, and they talk to themselves all day long, but they're talking about what they don't want. The trick is, or the challenge is to keep your mind focused on what you want and off of what you don't want. You have to have, that's where your willpower comes in. You have to have a willpower enough to keep your mind focused on what you want and off of what you don't want. But most people just allow their mind to go anywhere. They don't focus it in a direction of what they desire. They just go with, they're influenced by everything on the outside. And even Jesus said that about don't don't pay attention to the senses, the evidence of the senses. Assume the wish. Well, he didn't say assume the wish fulfilled. Neville Goddard said that. But we have to ignore appearances because what is seen is transitory. What is unseen is eternal, which is the thought world, the imagination. Thoughts never die. Okay, but whatever the thoughts create, like this table, one day this will pass away. But the thought of this table in someone's mind and in our minds will live until we pass and someone else will see it. But those thoughts last forever. They are the creation of everything. Everything that we see in the world today was created in the mind of man. This computer, this table, these mics, everything. And it amazes me how people can't grasp that, how powerful thinking is. Because everything we use today was created in the mind of man. And how many things we have today, for example, we travel by airplane and we don't think nothing of it. But when Orville and Wilbur Wright were first flying, the first flight at Kitty Hawk, the newspapers were afraid to print the account because the best scientific minds of the time had proved man could never fly. It was a mathematic impossibility. I think I'm too close to the mic.
No, you're fine. Another thing I was going to add on too is it's like you were talking about earlier, how everything else, like commercials, everything like that, will influence your mind. Well, one of the big things is like the news. They'll pump it's stuff into your mind, and then you might not pick up on it at first, but then later you'll end up finding yourself thinking about it. And then that's when your mind starts being processed by other things. So
yeah, it's amazing. I travel around the world, as you guys know, before this current health crisis. And the people of the United States are so, not everybody, of course, but many people are so full of fear. Mm-hmm. But they constantly are bombarded by news media. In many parts of the world, they don't have TVs. I mean, we live in a luxury society here where we don't even realize, unless you get out of the country, they have no idea how it is in other countries. Mm-hmm. I mean, we live in paradise here. Other people, how many people don't have running water? They don't have clean water. 3 million people die every year of starvation-related illnesses. And I don't know how many million people die every year because of lack of clean water.
Well, I read this thing. I can't remember the percentages, but the percentage is high. The percentage of people having phones is higher than somebody who has a toilet.
Yeah, many people in the world don't have a toilet. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many things here. And all these things were created in the mind of man.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is how you were talking about when you put emotion into something. Nowadays, we're so used to being comfortable and sitting down and doing nothing that when you go out to take action, the first emotion you put in is fear. Mm-hmm. It's always fear.
Because nowadays, or the way it is in the U.S., you don't really have to go out and do anything.
Yeah, you're afraid
of your food delivered.
Getting out and taking action. That's what everybody's so afraid of, which is why a lot of people don't get anywhere because they let
anxiety or whatever happens.
They let that fear take over.
Well, and you're right. Action is the one thing that will eliminate fear. Action in the direction of your goals and dreams. But the problem is, so many people don't know what their goals are. That they sit around and they just don't do anything, and then they wonder why they have no fulfillment. I know for a man, myself, and many other men I've talked to, we don't find fulfillment in a relationship. We find fulfillment in pursuing our goals and moving toward those goals. Mm-hmm. And of course, sometimes there's disappointment, there's discouragement, but you just keep going. And when you get afraid, I face fear every day. And what I find is when I face the fear, when I confront it and I step through it, everything I desire lies on the other side of that fear. But it's really hard to get through that fear. But then again, if you're around like-minded people who are living the same life as we talked before, you'll become part of what you're around, and you will face fear because your friends are doing that.
Yeah, because last night I was hanging out with a couple of my friends, and they were talking about how they wanted to walk up to this girl and dance with her. And the thing was that I told them, I was like, would you rather feel better if you walked over to her and got rejected, or would you, like, what would feel better? Not going there and telling her at all, and then thinking about, I should have done this.
All the things that could have happened,
Yeah. Or would you rather go over there, and even though you got rejected, you took the action to ask if they want to dance?
Yeah. That puts you one step further than most people if you go up there and take some action.
Because even if you get rejected, I mean, you're not going to think about it in the next couple of days because you're going to be thinking about something completely different. But, you know, you took that action, which even though you get rejected, you still feel good about the fact that you went out and took the action and said something.
And that's the same thing with any kind of challenge that lies before us. Many people want to go into business for themselves, but they have a secure job. They think it's a secure job. but it's not really because they could close up tomorrow. But they feel secure, so they're afraid to take that risk. But it's taking risks that has got man to where they are today. Like how many people died trying to figure out how to fly so we could fly. How we came here to the United States, which was undiscovered, at least by us anyway. The Indians lived here, and we stole it from them. But it was the risk of people coming over here and sailing out on the ocean that was supposedly flat and they were going to fall off.
the edge,
if they hadn't taken a risk. And today in our society, it seems to me we're so safe. Well, think about this. We're so safe and so safety conscious that we have to do extreme sports because as man, we have a desire to risk. As I said I think it was last week, the people in Vietnam, and I'm sure in every war, said they felt more alive when they were in country, when they were in combat zone than they ever had in their life. It's when you face death or face danger or face a chance of getting hurt or getting rejected or failing is when you feel the most alive. And then we have made things today that we just don't step out anymore. I don't even see kids climbing trees anymore or riding rackety go-karts down the street. They all got their helmets on, their shin pads. And these things are all good and they have their proper place, but we got to take a little risk sometimes.
Yeah, another thing I was going to say is how you always used to say that kids that were what was the age when you had to go to war back in the day? What was it?
Well, there were men when as young as 16 and 17 on D-Day.
Yeah.
They got in there, snuck in there.
And they went to war, and that's the thing. Like those kids, they don't know what's going on over there, but they're taking a risk of going over there to protect their country.
They're willing to risk their life to protect families and everything like that.
Yeah, and that's something else. I hear a lot of talk about vulnerability and a safe place and different things like this. And I don't believe anybody ever became successful by being too safe. By being safe. As I said, that has a time. We're safe on the job the best we can do, but sometimes you got to risk a little bit. You got to stretch out on the ladder sometimes to get something. There's no other way to do it.
And another thing I was going to say is it was about how you were talking about kids that young. That goes to show that as men, that's what we like. We like action.
The danger.
We like the danger. That's why kids that young would go there. That's
to protect their country as well.
Exactly. That's just something we're born to do. That's something we like.
Well, we did this. You guys read the story. I seen the clip the other day about the man who went out on the zip line. He was trying to help that woman, and somehow I know they got away from the stand, and he was hanging on to her. And he was afraid it was going to break because there was too much weight, so he let go and he died.
Yeah,
and he gave his life. He risked his life, and that's what men have been doing for centuries. Yeah. And it seems like here in the country we're losing our masculinity, or it's being downplayed or called toxic masculinity, and that's all part of being a man here in the States, and that's just what we do. And as a man, we have to take risks, and we take risks to improve society, to help people, to save lives. Firemen, policemen take risks every day.
Yeah, a lot of people think that like masculinity is a bad thing, but the thing is that that's what's needed most now. Now in this generation, masculinity is needed more than it ever has been needed, because there's so many people who believe that masculinity is a bad thing. So it gets...
Well, let's talk about that in regards to creating your world and imagination. How could we help people or help ourselves become more masculine by using our thinking process and by using our imagination?
A good example would be you could joke around. Even if you're joking around, you're still putting emotion towards that. But you could tell yourself that you're an alpha, you're strong, you're tough, like you're not afraid, like.
And what will happen?
You're fearless.
I'll tell you what will happen when you do that. If you do that with repetition over and over again, these things work. But many people try them for a day or a week and they say it doesn't work. But yet those people wouldn't go to the gym and work out a week or a month and expect to have great results. It's the same principle. If you tell yourself over and over that let's say I'm a masculine man or I'm an alpha male, whatever, there will be opportunities that will come up in your daily life for you to step through with fear and to prove to yourself that you are. Now, if you back away in fear, then you're backing away from your desire to be a masculine man. But you will have those opportunities. Life gives you those. If you continue to affirm and visualize, it shows you the way, but you have to step through those. And each time you step through one of these fears, you feel more masculine. It's like when people pray for patience and tolerance. It's not like God's going to give it to you, but He'll give you people that you really got to be patient with, and you really got to be tolerant with. It's a gift. The people who upset you the most are your best teachers. They have a message for you. They're teaching you how to be.
Yeah.
It's up to you whether you take advantage of that or not.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing you can do is print out some pictures of somebody you want to be, somebody you want to look like.
That's good, yeah.
Put those on a wall or put them right next to your mirror and point
Visualize yourself as them.
Visualize yourself as that person. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you're the greatest person that you are. Tell yourself you're great.
And Louise Hay talked about that quite a bit. She was a famous author and really helped a lot of people. She talked about mirror work, where you go to the mirror and you tell yourself, I love you. You're the greatest. You're whatever you want to be. You're the best skateboarder, for example. You're the best boxer in the world. Muhammad Ali is a good example of that. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. Now,
he said it all the time, yeah.
He's gone now, but he's considered one of the greatest of all time because he spoke it, he believed it, and you just say it over and over again until it becomes part of you. People don't realize that they have the power with their words, with their thoughts, with their imagination to have anything they desire in life. They just have to be persistent. There's no difference between us and Elon Musk, except maybe a couple $1 billion.
Yeah.
No, the difference is he uses his imagination, he presses on, he continues to push forward. I think he was close to broke once. He had to be extremely discouraged when 2 or 3 of his rockets burn up, and his idols, Armstrong, and one of the other guys, told him he shouldn't be trying to go to the moon. So you have to realize whenever you step out of the mold and try to do something different, there are going to be those people who try to drag you down, and sometimes it's the people you want to approve of you or encourage you the most. I couldn't believe they did that, but maybe it's because we never went to the moon. Some people believe we didn't go there.
Well, what they were he was trying to make space travel for people, regular people and everything like that. They didn't really agree with that, so they kind of were. And he started tearing up in the interview, and he was just like, "I wish they would come and see what the kind of great work we're doing." And that's the thing too. It's just like you were saying. Some of the people that you want to approve of you sometimes are going to shoot down your ideas or think it's not the best idea.
Yeah, and sometimes, many times, it's your own family and your best friends.
Yeah.
They don't really do it on purpose. They're not trying to hurt you, but they're afraid that they don't want you to step out there because they don't want to see you fail and get hurt. I mean, they're really doing it because they care about you, but failure is just part of life. The road to success is paved with failure. We're taught in school that it's bad to fail. And so we grow up thinking, I can't fail. I can't. I failed so many times. I don't even know. I had 4, you could say 4 failed marriages, but is a marriage a success because it lasts for 50 years that the 2 people are miserable? Or, what do you constitutes success there?
Yeah.
Did I learn from it? Yes, I did. I learned a lot from all 4 of them.
Yeah, another thing I was going to say is how you were talking about how Elon Musk, he had those rocket failures the first 3 times. Instead of him freaking out about it and all that sort of stuff,
or giving up,
he thought, okay, what can I do next?
Exactly.
He thought of the next
and
step.
that's what you have to do. You have to learn from your failures. I mean, everybody feels discouragement sometimes and doubt, but you have to push through the doubt. How many people have? I think about Marconi was the one that invented wireless telegraph. Anyway,
Telegraphy.
No, I don't think that was it. But anyway, when we had we could send sound through telegraph, through wires. And he said he believed that you could send sound through the air. Well, his 2 best friends had him committed in an asylum because they thought he was crazy. And now what? We have cell phones. We pick them up. We don't think we can talk to someone on the other side of the world. When I was a kid, that was Buck Rogers stuff about having a watch on your arm that you could see somebody. Now, it's nothing I talk to people all over the world during the day. And I can see them, I can talk to them. It's amazing. But of course, you guys grew up with that. But for me, 30 years ago, we couldn't do that. But now you can. To call somebody in another country, it was like $4 a minute, and you're lucky if you could get a hold of them. It was kind of bad connection. You had to talk to an operator. Now you just pick up any cell phone, you can talk to somebody in China.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say is, phones are good, but the one bad thing about phones is when you're on social media, you see people that are billionaires, people that are rich, and they always think, I wish I could be that person. But the thing is that at the end of the day, they're human. They're just like us, but they were the ones but they took action,
Yeah.
which is something you need to do.
They didn't let their failures stop them. They don't see, all we see on social media is everyone's success. You don't see the times when they're home at night, scared to death. I remember myself sitting in this house after I bought it the first winter, and I don't think I was working much, and I'm thinking, I should have stayed back in a 1976 trailer. I was scared, man. I didn't think I was going to make it, but here we are 7, 8, 10 years later, whatever it is, and we got it fixed up and finished
And
everything.
then we had the podcast set up and everything.
I mean, this here is a big risk or whatever, but hey, I don't know how many times I failed in business. I've opened quite a few businesses and failed, but did I fail? I learned from it. I just keep moving on.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. No matter what happens, you just keep pressing on. You get up and you never give up. And that's one of the reasons I wrote this book and Coming Back Home, because no matter what happened in my life, and I don't know why, I didn't know how to quit. I just didn't know how to quit. Probably because when I was young, my mom would call me a quitter because I think I'd start something and I'd stop. And when I started boxing, she said, well, what's that going to do? She said, you always quit everything you do. I was like, by God, I'm not going to quit boxing. Eventually, I did quit, but I fought off and on from 20 years old to 32.
Yeah.
And on my last fight, it just wasn't as important anymore.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I've been in situations where I just didn't quit. I just don't know how to do that. What's the alternative? I guess you sit in front of the TV and you don't do anything. And you die. Most people, how do they say? Most people are die before they're ever buried. And how many people are told nowadays that, you're 40. What do they do when you're 40? They give you a black balloon for your birthday. Like that's in. It's all downhill from now.
Yeah.
And it's not all down. I enjoy my life as much, if not more today, than I did in my 20s. I don't have to go back and make the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
Because I've made them so many times, I finally learned my lesson from them. But I will continue to make mistakes, and I will continue to learn from them. And that's something else that religion does sometimes that I don't agree with. They use the word sinner like you're some kind of terrible person. Oh, you were born a sinner. Well, the word sin comes from an Anglo-Saxon term which means to miss the mark. It's an archery term. When you shoot the bullseye and you'd miss it, you sinned. Okay, and it's the same way. Sure, we're going to sin. We're going to make mistakes. If we weren't born to make mistakes, we wouldn't learn anything. We learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. If someone comes to me that wants a job, I'm going to ask them, tell me about your failures. I don't want to hear about his successes. Tell me about your failures. Then you find out what kind of a person, what kind of tenacity, what kind of strength, what kind of integrity they have. How did they handle the failures? Did they give up or did they keep moving and press on?
Yeah.
Did they get back up or did they just quit?
That's very true.
Yeah, another thing is that what do they say about the graveyard? Something about dreams. What is it that they say? I think it's like the graveyard is where all
I know it, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, like
that's where all the dreams are buried.
yeah,
The dreams that people were too afraid to try. They live their life, and at the end of their life, they think about what they could have done, what they should have done, what would have happened if they'd have took that chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken a lot of chances, and they didn't always work out right. I've lost 2 houses, almost lost my freedom twice. I lost kids, not by death, but they were taken away from me, 5, 6, 7 times by the authorities. And, I just kept pressing on. And here I am today. All 6 of you guys are with me. We work together. I'll tell you what, I have a life that people dream of. And did I plan that? If you'd have told me 20 years ago when I was in this house, which I lost and I didn't finish, here I'm back here. I never thought I would be back. And I never thought in a million years I'd be back here with my family like this and have the life that I have today. It was all because I had a vision. I had a vision back in 99 of what I wanted my life to be like. But I didn't think it was going to happen. And if you'd have asked me, okay, Mark, you can have this life in 2021, but this is what you got to go through, I would have said, thanks, but no thanks. I think I'll try a different way.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's giving you all the wisdom. It's made you the man that you are today.
I wouldn't be doing this today. I wouldn't be doing this today. And I went through a lot of suffering and emotional pain through my divorces and losing you kids, but I needed that. I needed to be beat down because I had such an ego that I still thought I was doing it. I was making it happen. It's not me. It's the power within me. And everybody has that power. As I said when we started, we misuse it. We create by default. We think about what we don't want. It's like if you tell someone, All you have to do is think about money and your money will come to you. And they'll say, well, I think about money, but what they think about is, how am I going to pay this bill?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the electric bill. God, that's a lot of money. I can't afford this. Money doesn't grow on trees. All these things they've grown up with, they continue to over and over. They think about lack. In the world, there is no lack. Is there a lack of grass? Is there a lack of leaves? Are there a lack of trees? No, there's not. Man created lack through greed. So there is no lack. But if you grow up believing there's lack, then you see lack, just like we talked about the reticular activating system. You don't see the opportunities. That's where, and actually it talks about this, the rich will remain rich and the poor get poor. Because the rich people grow up believing there's an abundance, because that's what they've seen all their life. The poor people grow up believing there's not enough. So in their mind, there's not enough, so that's all they see is not enough. You have to change your thinking. It's much harder for a person, let's say in the ghetto, or a person coming from poverty to become rich, because he has to completely reprogram his mind.
Yeah.
But he has to take responsibility for that once he gets of age. But he's been programmed by his parents because they talked about lack. No, we don't have enough. No, we can't buy that. We can't afford that. And he's picked all this up. So you have to change that. And of course, too, don't watch the news, because all they talk about is everything that's wrong in the world, the negativity, how dangerous it is. All these things are negative and they hurt you. But people get a certain pleasure out of that.
Yeah. You can, what I was going to say is you can either use social media to motivate you or to bring you down. Because there's a lot of people who are on social media, like people who are, like, are in the hood. They see all these rappers that are rich, and instead of thinking, oh, I wish I could rap like that, or I wish I could have their money, instead of thinking they wish I could do that, they think, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, what one man has done, another man can do. But those people believed in themselves. Like I said, they didn't see what these people went through to get to where they're at. They only see the success and they call it luck. There's no luck to it. Those people had a vision of what they desired in life. They kept going, even when it looked like they were never going to make it. There's countless stories about there. Oprah Winfrey, she was doing a news show, and they went and took the mic away from her, I think, and said, you're just not cut out for public television or something like that. And look, she's one of the richest, I think the richest woman in the world, and everybody knows who Oprah Winfrey is. Had she stopped then, there would be no Oprah Winfrey, and all the people she's helped and still helps people. I think she has a couple of TV shows on now.
Yeah, another thing is that there's this joke that's been going around about these kids who have a whole bunch of tattoos. They have this song called Island Boy. And don't get me wrong, it's a really bad song, and it's really goofy, but they make so much money. Like, they always have
because
money.
they keep pumping it out, and,
Yeah.
I think they genuinely believe that they're doing something, like they're doing a good song and everything like that.
That's it. They believe.
And even if they get made fun of, they don't care, because even though people make jokes about that and all that sort of stuff, you got to think about it. You're still putting that out there.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were getting made fun of, and there was jokes about them. But then you have all these famous people posting them all the time. That they're getting out there now. They're really actually getting out there, even though they were getting made fun of.
See, because they believed in themselves, they persisted when many people would have stopped. Persistence is all powerful. I mean, you have to persist in everything you do, but you have to. That comes from a belief. According to your faith or your belief, it is done to you. Your world orchestrates itself according to your beliefs. You see, how is it? You don't see, you don't believe what you see.
No, you
see what you believe. Yeah, you don't believe what you see what you believe. That's why two people looking at a tree, it's the same tree, but two people see two different trees.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. When a person reads a book, it's the same book, but it's two different people reading two different books, or 100 different people, 100 different books. Just because they each have a different perception. And your perception is formed by what you've grown up, what you've been through in your life, and these things take hold on our personalities, our attitudes, our beliefs.
Yeah.
We have to change our beliefs before we change our life.
Another thing that I was going to add on to that is a lot of people contemplate about the future or the past, but you look at a dog, they're always happy, and it's because they're not thinking about the past, or they're not thinking about the future. They're
Kids
thinking about,
too, yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking about the present. They're living in the present tense. That's why they're so happy.
And someone else long ago said, unless you become as children, you shall not inherit the kingdom of God. the joy, the gladness. Children live in the present. They're not resentful at somebody that something did 6 months ago. Adults do that. If you become as a child and live in the moment and don't worry about yesterday or fear for tomorrow, then you have all the power you need. The power is in the present moment because it's always the present. Tomorrow at this time, it'll be now. Now at this time, it's now. Yesterday at this time, it was now. It's always now. The concept of time is something man has created. Time doesn't even exist. I think Einstein proved that. I won't go into his experiment, but he proved that time is relative to the situation. There is no time in space. Time and space, it's too complicated. I somewhat understand, but I sure as hell can't explain it.
I don't know.
Shoot. Let me think of something.
Well, another thing with children too is it's like they're not limited by, well, when they're first born and start becoming children, they're not limited by all the things in the world. They become limited over time.
They're taught limitations. We are only born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. All the other fears that we have and that you have in the audience, they're all learned.
Yeah.
Prejudices, they're all learned. We don't see black and white, yellow, Indian, Spanish, whatever it happens to be when we're kids. We just see other kids. We learn all these prejudices from our parents or from our society or from the culture, from the village, whatever it happens to be. And even now you see that, and that's from your beliefs. You form your beliefs. Everybody sees everything through the filter of their beliefs. That's why I was telling someone on a post the other day, two people were talking about, the one man said the women, they're always looking to one up. If they're with you and they find a man better, they're going to dump you and go on. That's his belief. Okay, the other guy was saying, no, not all women are like that. There's a lot of women out there that wouldn't do that, this and that. Okay, I made the statement. They're both right because the one that believes the women are like that, he will only see evidence to support his beliefs. And whatever he doesn't believe, he'll never see that. It won't come into his conscious mind. The other guy will see evidence to support his beliefs, so it will be true for him. I'll say the same thing about the current health crisis. Some of us see that we look at the numbers and we say it's such a small percentage of people, it's no different than the flu. And other people look at it and they think, well, how can you think that? Look at all the people that have died from it. So each person only sees the evidence, only perceives the evidence according to what they believe this current situation is.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to be right.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is, I'm out of school, but I feel like school doesn't teach you to have an imagination. It just teaches you what the teachers that just teach you what they've learned. They shove that all in your brain.
Well, yeah, they teach you to remember.
Yeah, they teach you memorization is what they need to teach. The school system, I don't think it's changed for 100 years or more, 120 years. They're still teaching the same way that they've taught for years. I mean, I have a great respect for teachers because I couldn't do that. But, yes, they basically teach us memorization. I believe they need to teach us how to use our imagination because that's what they teach you to be workers.
Yeah.
They teach you that if you don't, they still say the same thing they said to me. If you don't get a high school education, you won't be able to get a good job. Okay? I don't want a good job. An acronym for job is just over broke. Now, there are good jobs out there. I'm not saying that. And not everybody's needs to be self-employed. But if you tell somebody that if they don't have school and they don't finish their high school education, they're never going to amount to nothing, and they're hearing that from an authority figure, which may be the teacher, maybe the parent also, then that guy is being set up for failure because he believes if he doesn't graduate, and let's say he doesn't, he's never going to amount to anything because that's what he's been told by everybody who supposedly knows. Now, I'm not advocating anybody quit school. I did. It worked great for me. But there's nothing that you or I can't learn. I had an English school in Guatemala, a successful English school. I flunked English. I learned English over again there. I knew more about English there than I did when I was in high school. But I've forgotten it all because I didn't use it. Anything you desire to learn, especially now with the internet, you can learn anything about anything in a short amount of time. So you don't have to learn it in school.
Yeah, another thing I was going to say is Elon Musk, he made a school. Like, he made a school with, like, 12 students. There's 12 students so far, but it's all about, the school is pretty much all about what they want to do, if they, like, their own kind of career, their own, what they want to do with themselves, not what they have to do.
Right.
What they have to learn, they get to kind of pursue their own thing, and every children is different. Some will pursue music, some will pursue mathematics, or English, history, whatever it happens to be.
Well, I would say probably what he's doing is finding out what they're most attracted to, or what their inclination is towards, and then gearing them towards that. And I understand in regular school they can't do that because they have so many people, and we just kind of categorize everybody and group them together. And it just doesn't work because for like me, I was good with my hands and I like classes like that, and I got bored with everything else. So I just wasn't that type of person. And today we need more skilled workers, people that can work with their hands. We're really lacking on that. So there's so many other things that a person can do. But with school, after I see where you guys got bored after the 5th or 6th grade, the same I did too, because it's a repetition of more of the same. Algebra, calculus, unless you're going into a specific field, maybe like helping Elon Musk build rockets, it's useless. What are you going to do with it? I mean, if you can add and subtract, read and write, that's the basics. From that, if you can do that, you can learn anything from that, if you desire. And then you can learn about something like since I turned 30, I've constantly read, listened to books, I've educated myself. I'm a believer in education, okay? But I've educated myself on things that I desire, I have a desire to learn, and I have a desire to share with other people. And the best way to learn something is to teach it or to share it with someone else, because it comes back to you multiplied. You can't give anything away in life, and that's another universal law. I cannot do anything to you or for you that doesn't come back to me multiplied many times over. I've learned that the hard way. Excuse me.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is about how everything comes back to you. You know, Mr. Beast, like, the YouTuber, he, with his imagination, he decided to make videos about giving money away. And because he makes those videos, like, he makes a lot of money because he's a YouTuber. But not only that, he makes videos about giving away money. So it all comes back to him. Like, it all comes back, like, just by making the YouTube videos or by giving money away, the universe gives him money back. You know?
Yeah, it's true. And whatever you give away, if you want to be understood, be understanding with other people. If you want love, you need to be loving. Where they say the loving never look for love, and they always have it, but the loveless seek for love and never find it.
Yeah.
It's the same way. If you want money, give money away. Doesn't make any sense, but see, universal laws don't make any sense. To educated, intelligent people, they think that's ridiculous. You either have to go the way of imagination and universal laws, or you have to go the way of conscious common sense. Now, I'm not saying to throw common sense out the window, of course, but a lot of people, as you're talking about giving money away, they think, well, I'll give money away when my ship comes in, when I get that big amount. I guarantee you, if you can't give $1 out of $10, you won't give 100 out of 1,000 or 10,000 out of 100,000. It gets harder. It doesn't get easier. But if you know and if you trust the universe, it will come back to you. Try it. Reaping and sowing. Whatever you give away comes back. And whatever you take from someone else will be taken back, taken from you multiplied. As I said, I've experienced both of those universal laws. There's not much you can do about it. People think they can. It's like someone who robs a bank. You may escape the laws of the land, but you will never escape the laws of the universe. Or some people say the laws of God. You cannot do it. The only thing is it happens when you hurt someone or do something to someone else that you wouldn't want done to you. It immediately it affects you, but you don't know it. It doesn't manifest itself in your outer world until maybe a month, 2 months, 6 months, or maybe 2 years later. But what it is you've long forgotten what you've done, and you blame the person in front of you for what he did to you. Let's say, an example. You're in the parking lot of Walmart, and you back into somebody's car. You look around, nobody's there, nobody saw you, so you leave. 2 years later, you're parked at a restaurant, you come out and somebody smashed your car. You are pissed. But you don't think about the 2 years before when you did that to somebody else. And if you do, you just blow it off. But that's what happens. You cannot get away with anything. You may get away with it, as I said, with the legal system, the laws, but you will never get away with it with the laws of the universe. It always comes back. And sometimes it takes time for it to get back. But if you plant enough seeds of things that you wouldn't want done to you, I'll guarantee you, you're going to reap a harvest. It's just the way the universe works.
Yeah.
But people just don't adhere to that because the effects, at least in the outer world, are not immediate. They don't feel it. They don't see it. So they think they got away with it. So it gives them a certain rush of excitement.
It's true.
Okay. You guys got anything else to share on that?
No.
Kind of drawing a blank.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Well, we're going to cut it off tonight. It's a short one, but I hope you've got some value out of this. And like I said, you can pick up my book on Amazon, The Power is Within, and also Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels. Both of those books, you can see how my life was created by my thoughts. And if you really look back on your life with objectivity, don't blame anybody for anything. You can see how you've created everything that happens in your life. The bad, the good, the things that you feared. How many times have you feared something and it come into your life? And you say, I knew that was going to happen. I was afraid it was going to happen because you held that fear for a long time and you just kept letting it go. And eventually it manifests. It's the same way. If you can hold your desire in your mind with emotion long enough, it'll eventually come to you. Who was it? What's his name? Gosh, not Thomas Edison, the other guy. Tesla.
Yeah,
Tesla.
Nikola Tesla, yeah.
Tesla. He said the universe, if you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. He said it's written in every spiritual text. Hold the thought for an extended period of time, and what you desire will come into your world. It will manifest. It's really just that simple. It amazes me how many people claim to be Christians, and that's what Jesus taught, but they just don't practice it. He says it plainly many times, according to your faith or your belief, it is done unto you. Not that you have to go out and do it, it's done to you. Mm-hmm. He talks about the lilies and the grass in the field, how beautiful they are. They don't have to take care of themselves. They don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Sufficient for today is its own evil, the present moment. Everything you desire will come to you if you have the right thought process. Now, you have to keep out these thoughts of resentment and anger towards other people because that will bring those types of things into your life. Your mind is like a garden, and you're the planter. Your conscious mind programs your subconscious mind, which is connected to universal intelligence, God, divinity, and that brings these things to pass. You don't have to believe it. Just try it and see if it doesn't work. But don't try it for one day. Try it for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, and you will see it come to pass if you are aware. But you got to have a goal, you guys. You got to write your goal down. You need to view it at least twice a day, when you get up in the morning and before you go to bed at night. And these things will come to pass. And if you don't get exactly what you want, you'll get something better. It's happened to me many times in my life.